Hey guys, and welcome to this video. In this one, we're going to start exploring how to use your calculator when you're dealing with data. Specifically for this one, how to find your 5-number summary. Now we can see here we have a version of a Casio calculator. We have our calculator right here. Now there's a few features that I would like to point out in this calculator that are going to come in very, very handy. So first of all, we have this button here. That button is our shift function. All right, so this is our shift button. And the shift button, well, it allows us to use the extra function that is applied to each of the keys on our calculator. Now, the shift function will let you find or use the function that is in yellow above your key. So you can see on the calculator there that lots of those keys have a yellow writing above them. That yellow writing is what's going to happen when you press the shift key. A couple of other things to see in this calculator. We have this button here that I have just circled in blue. That's the mode setup button. The mode and the setup button, if you press it without the shift, it's just the mode, and it will take you to whether you want calculations or statistics. And the setup is how you're going to use those functions. So it will give you different options that you can probably spot down the bottom there, but it'll give you those different functions to help you along. Again, shift to get the setup because it's in yellow, mode is in white, so it's just the one key. A couple of other really important ones. In red, these are our cursor keys. These guys are going to come in important later on when we need to move between screens that have more information on them than shows on the screen. Okay, we can move up, down, sideways, and it comes to be very handy to go back into things that you've also plugged in. In terms of our statistics stuff here as well, we're going to need to know about this key down the bottom. That's the number 1 key. That is our stat function. So they're all those functions that we're talking about. So once we've set up into statistics and once we've gone into that mode and we've entered a whole bunch of data, we're going to use shift 1 to get all our stat functions, to get all our calculations out of it. And the other last important key that we need to remember about is our AC key, and our AC key is what's going to help us move between the stat mode and the stat functions. Okay, we need to move between stat mode and stat functions. Now up here at the top we have some data. We've just got 10 scores that we're going to plug into a calculator. So let's bring what all that is going to look like up. Okay, so I've got a whole bunch of screens here, and we are going to need to know about our calculator in a second. Okay, so here's our calculator off to the side. And all I'm going to do is show you what's happening in this calculator. So you can see here, I've just got the straight screen. All right, so this is just the random or the straight screen. Which just has all the functions ready to go on it. Now in order to get to my next screen, which is actually part of my setup. Okay, this is all part of the setup. So I need to go shift, and you can see up in that top little corner, it comes up with the little S. and then the mode. And you can see it brings it up nice and easily over to the side. Now you'll notice in that screen, okay, there is actually nothing to do with statistics. So this is the first half of our screen. We actually need to go to the next one. So to go to the next one, we're going to use our down arrow. Okay, so that's our down arrow. And our down arrow brings up this one. So you can see that in the next bit there. Okay, and you can even see, let's move that back up, that we actually want option 3. You can see I've highlighted a little bit too far there, but we want option 3. Now option 3 will give us our frequency options, which is in the next screen down here. Okay, so what's going to happen here is that's going to give us our options of having a frequency column on or a frequency column off. So we can have a frequency column or no frequency column. Now I'm going to add the frequency column for mine just to make things a little bit nicer for you to look at. So I am going to look at option 3 there. Okay, and I'm going to turn my frequency column on by clicking my 1. Now you'll notice that it hasn't actually done anything yet. Okay, so now it's still working in the background of the calculator. It's very, very important that we're working in the background of our calculator there. Now you can see here, I now need to go to mode. So here I am in mode, and I want the stat function. I want to be able to use statistics in my calculator today. All right, so option 2. Brings up the statistics options. All right, so there's our statistics options. And I'm going to use number 2. Now, you can see here, we've got a whole bunch of different things that we can look at. We're going to use option 1, and you can see over to the side there in that top corner that I have got option 1 going. All right, so this is just option 1, one variable. Okay, 1-var, one variable. All these other bits and pieces will come in handy later on when we're using our data for other things and we're doing 2 lots of data or doing different things with our data, or we've got different types of data. But for now, we just want simple single variable, and we want that to come up in our frequency table. So here's our frequency table there. And all we need to do now is enter the data. So what we do is we type in a score, say 2, and to get it into the table, we're going to hit equals. Okay, so that's all we're doing. All right, so for this one, we type the number or the score and then hit equals. And this will pop it into our table up on the side there. And then we just do that with all the rest of the numbers. And you can see that every time I hit equals, that number gets populated into my table on the screen. So we'll just finish that off. And you can see that I have all of it into the table now. Now here's where our AC key comes in very handy. And now it looks like there's nothing there, right? But we finish with AC. And what that does is that clears our screen and starts saving that information into the calculator itself. Okay? It's all been saved into that calculator. And now we can actually have a look at some of the other bits and pieces. So we can actually find our information. So here we have it. We've got our shift key that we need. So remember before we said we're going to use shift and 1. So we use shift and 1. And that will bring up the 5 different options for things. So we can look at the type of data. We can go back into the data itself. We can get the sum of the data. I'll look at some of the variables. And then number 5, if you have this type of a calculator, if you have this option, is the min max. Now, the number 5 will actually give you your 5 number summary. So let's pick it. And you can see here we've got the minimum, the maximum, Q1, medium, and Q3. Okay, so here is our 5 number summary. And you can see there on my screen, I've picked option 4. And option 4 has given us the median. Okay, so that's our middle score. So if I go back to my calculator up to the side, right, if I go into 4, it gives me 7. Now, the only issue with this takes a little bit of extra time is if I want to go back to that now, I still have to go back to these options and go back through there again. But I can find option 3, so that's Q1. So quartile 1 is going to be 4. Okay, quartile 3, well, that's going to be 13. We can now do interquartile range. Okay, so Q1 was 4, Q3 was 13, so our IQR equals 13 minus 4. Okay, so this is what we're looking at. And 13 minus 4 is going to be 9. Okay, so our interquartile range is 9. So now we can use a whole bunch of different bits and pieces of information without having to think too hard through it. Okay. Alrighty, let's get rid of that calculator off to the side. Now that's the basic gist of our calculator. In our next video, we're going to run through an example.